So I found this little one on the ground. So this one I'm going to, this actually looks like a seed. No, it's not a seedling. Anyways, this one was on the side. This one, I thought it was attached to the whole plant, but I guess it was a little baby by itself. So this one I'm going to put in like a little solo cup with a dome. Or I might just plant it in some medium, but I may grow it in water culture, but we'll see. So here is the medium. Or not the medium, but here's a plant, the division. I don't know if that's helping. Do it like this. And so I have really long roots right here. And then I have new roots right here from this growth right here. And then this one's maturing. So I don't know if these roots are going to do anything. Oh, well, this one's still growing. Well, it was, but start. So this one we're going to be doing in front of the camera because I think it's easier for you to see. My first video, or at least my first repotting video that I've done in this sort of aspect. And I have my my still bowl underneath, so hopefully that's going to catch a lot of it, but I can just sweep up the patio after, so I don't even know I'm using the bowl. So this is just like a complete mass of fruits right here. You know, again, I feel like I don't want to do too much to the roots, so I think I'm just going to repot this one into the 5. Oh, and by the way, it's a 5-quart pot, so this is the size that I was keeping it in. I mean, you can get these at Home Depot, so they're readily available. Yeah, I think this is going to be the division that I'm just going to repot in here. And this time when I repot it, I'm going to use a little bit of bark. Even though I had no issues with the full sphagnum, so I don't know. But I just want to put a little bit of bark in there to give it some aeration. Okay, so unintentionally this is going to be a good time for me to show you the different pots that I use and how I use them. Quote-unquote pots. These are paint mixing buckets from Home Depot. And I have 5 quarts, which my Zygonisia is the only one that's in this size. I have a 2.5 quart, and I have my Chisis in one of these. I have an intermedia, and one of these a Cali intermedia. So I have like medium-sized cans. I'm going to put this larger one in this size pot. So if our plant is this big, generally I'll put it in this size pot. And then this would be the size that I'm putting in the 5-quart pot. Ooh! This one would be the size that I would put in the 1-quart pot. And then this little baby. I have a lot of minis, and so I use these solo cups. And I will, oh my god. Okay, we're just gonna put you back here. Um, so what I'll do with these cups is I'm gonna poke holes around the bottom, and I'm gonna put a little bit of leca in here so I can do a sort of semi-hydro. But I put moss on the top, or on the top, and yeah, I don't do full inorganic semi-hydro because I don't know, I just find that doesn't work. I just find like the plants enjoy an organic medium, or they just grow better in an organic medium than inorganic. Especially a lot of orchids. Like, and if you don't have the high, I don't know. I feel like there's an issue with humidity that maybe I don't have the correct humidity for semi-hydro. But I definitely have noticed that if you don't have really good humidity, there's an extensive dry layer on the top. But as you get more humidity, the dry layer on top of full leca semi-hydro, it gets smaller. So there's water available closer to the roots. So I'm going to set these other two to the side, or these other three. And honestly, since I have four, one second. Since I have four Murasaki Komachi divisions, I'm actually going to be selling one of these. I think I'm going to sell the one in the 1 quart. So follow my Instagram account at Mostly Orchids. And I'll be posting information about that on there because I have like way too many. And I think this big one I'm gonna try and grow outside. And then I'm gonna grow this one in the place where I used to grow this one indoors. And then this little one I'm just gonna grow on my shelf under light, directly under the lights, I guess. So I have sphagnum moss. This is Better Grow sphagnum moss. It works for what it is, but I'm going to put some in here. So I kind of want to cut up the sphagnum moss, which is what I usually do. But if you cut up the sphagnum moss, it makes it less airy. And I feel like what this one liked was that, at least what in being full sphagnum, was that it was airy because it was the full strands and they weren't able to compact as much. So I'm actually not gonna separate the mosses or cut it up as much as I usually do. But I will for the smaller one, especially the one that's gonna be in the solo cup. And I'm just going to mix it. here I have the Better Grow Orchid bark. The one with the red letters. They have a Better Grow mix that has charcoal, perlite, and peat moss in it as well. And I find that the bark that is in that mix is too chunky. And the bark that's in this mix with the red letters, it's I mean, it's not the smallest bark ever. It's pretty variable. The large pieces are pretty flat, but it's definitely smaller than the bark that's in the mix that you'll see alongside this one in Home Depot and Lowe's. So that's why I prefer to use this one. But honestly, some people use orchiata bark, other kinds of bark. Some of the other kinds of bark you use, but you will find, I guess, pros and cons to the different sizes of barks. I honestly prefer small and medium sizes of barks because they just are more effective at wicking, especially for vandas and other orchids like that. You're gonna want a chunkier bark if you grow it potted. Although some people say they don't grow well potted. Miss Orchid Girl did a really good, I think it was Miss Orchid Girl, or it may have been the Orchid Room. Either one of them, they have really good videos on how to grow vandas in pots. But it was one of them that said that people think that vandas don't grow well in pots because they transfer them from baskets to pots, and then all the roots die, and then they have issues with the plants. And I think that's probably true because the vandas that I have, they came potted, and they've been grown potted, and they're fine. So, I mean, they're also smaller vandas. Like I have a Vanda Pumila, and I have a Vanda curvifolia crossed with cristata. It's a Vanda Rumro. But they're in pots and they're fine. Although the bark is pretty chunky and there's not a lot of medium in there, they're still potted nonetheless. They're not basketed in any sort of way. So I'm not even gonna clean out the pot. I fertilized this one at like 300, 400 ppm, which is what I use for my outdoor orchids. And you can see how little algae there is. This is a very heavy feeder, or at least it can handle a lot of fertilizer. Maybe it's not necessarily a heavy feeder, but it'll take it because it's a pretty large plant. So I'm just gonna put a small layer. You can see it's like right there. Just to, I don't like the roots being directly at the leca. And I don't know if there's something with my leca, but I find that the roots really do not like it. And I boil my leca, I boil it in a vinegar and water solution. So it's an acidic solution and it's going to leach out the minerals, or at least make the minerals soluble, and then they can be leached out. I just find that the roots do not like the leca when they grow into it. I mean, some of my plants, like I have a Falzabrina and I have a Faltetrabel. I have an Epicatanthe or something like that, his Yang Yu. I have a couple in full leca semi-hydro, but most of my collection, because I had a lot of my collection in semi-hydro before, a lot of them just did not like it. And that's why I've switched to this method with the bark moss on top of leca. And so the back part, obviously I will be putting towards the back or towards the side of the pot. But I don't want to put it too close to the side of the pot in case it activates a node back here. And in that case, I'll have to repot it or just pinch the node off so it doesn't grow. And that's not necessarily what I want to do, because since this is so vigorous, I can probably just let it refill the pot, divide it, sell it, and just sort of do that. and then I can have one outside, and I can have one inside or whatever. And so now basically I don't want to move the pot, but I have about up to here filled up, and it's kind of stable. And this is I guess I want it more like this. I guess I want it more tilted like this because it's kind of climbing. But this is how I want it in the pot. I don't really want to lift it up and show you, but I have about obviously this much to the top, and so this is going to be sort of the top layer. And this is what I like about doing this, doing your semi-hydro this way with organics or just varied sizes of media, something that you can vary the porosity of, is that for the top I'm going to be separating the long strands. I'm going to be cutting them up or ripping them up into smaller pieces. And I'm going to be putting a lot more bark in the top, or at least proportionally more bark than I use for the lower mix, because I don't necessarily want them to be, I don't necessarily want there to be a lot of moisture right near the base of the pseudobulbs. Might as well just mist this up before I go get the bark. Also, the reason I'm doing more bark is because I'm kind of running out of moss. I really shouldn't have just thrown away the moss that was in the pot previously, but I don't know, I feed so heavily with this one that I'm a little bit worried about how much salts are in the moss, which kind of speaks to how heavily I feed it, because I don't really have that fear with any kind of orchids. Besides me, my cataseedums are going to be putting in a bark heavy mix instead of pure sphagnum, like I've been doing, because a lot of them have been rotting, and I'm kind of annoyed at growing cataseedums. I don't want to be annoyed at growing them because they're really interesting. But I'm just going to be more intuitive with my cataseed growing instead of just doing what other people say online, because that may work for them, but it may not work for you. And at this point I'm noticing that I have not talked about how I'm caring for this orchid. So I don't have this orchid directly under light indoors, because I've been keeping it indoors in my room. And let's see, during summer, as you know, 80s, it would be in like 80 to 82 in my room. And at night it would sometimes be in the 70s, but at this point I'm getting at most 75 during the day, and maybe like 68 at night, because I have a personal heater that I use in there when I'm sleeping, obviously. And so this one has a warm growing species and a cold growing species in it. So I don't really think that it cares what temperature you're keeping it in, as long as it's like not super hot all the time, like above 80 all the time, and as long as you're not getting, I can't even say how cold it will stand, because at this point I've been growing it inside. But as I told you, I'll be growing it outside, so, or at least a division of it, this one outside from now on. Or maybe I'll wait till the spring, I don't know, but I'm going to be growing this one outside regardless, so I'll be able to speak in about a year or two on the outdoor temperatures that it can take. But this is, I'm going to put a little bit more bark in here. Okay. So this is the sort of closer, the mix that I'm going to use closer to the top. The other one you might have seen was probably half the amount of bark that I have in here. But yeah. So I'm going to, actually what I'm going to do is, because this one is, it likes to be like this, and I want it more like this, I'm going to position it like this, and then fill in the back right here, so it's not going to want to lean back as much when I go to fill in the front. And like I was saying before, I don't know if I want to put this outside right now because I might shock it, so I may just find a way to just grow it indoors. But I now have 4 of these, so we're gonna see. What I'm thinking is I'm just gonna cut these leaves really short so they're not sort of hanging out as much, and I can just put more together. Because this one just grows like crazy, and it's not, I don't think it's gonna care if I cut the leaves to like this height. Like I said, I'm just gonna cut these leaves, honestly, because it's just too big. And I don't want to put it outside during winter, especially because it's going to start getting under 40, or at least under 45. But I still, yeah, so I still want to keep it inside. And I'm gonna need to be packing more together. So at least until spring, or at least until, you know, March, February, late February at least. Oh, and I do want to say these are from drought. These are not from overwatering. These have happened recently because it's wintertime, and I water my I'm generally cutting back on watering with all of my orchids, and I water all of my orchids kind of pretty much the same. So this one has not been getting watered as much as it needs to. So, I mean, also when I looked inside, at the core medium, the burger mix, it was dry. So it wasn't really wicking up water the way I thought it was. So that might have been an issue, and now that it's out, it may be getting better hydration. And since I've already misted the sphagnum, I'm not gonna water this for a while, especially because there's a lot of wounds on the roots, and I don't want them to get infected or anything like that. So here we have one division. Okay, at this point I've been filming for over an hour and I'm so tired. Well, I also haven't had dinner yet, so that's probably why. But here we have a 2-quart pot, and actually this one doesn't have any holes in it, so what I'm going to do is I'm trying to think how much black I have left and what I can do with this one, because with the other pot, with the 5-quart pot, I had holes down here at the bottom, and that's because I can put it in a plate. But with this one, I might do the more typical semi-hydro placement right here, so I can have the reservoir just in here, and I don't need to have a dish underneath. Because I think that's just going to be too cumbersome. But I also only have this much leca left, so we're gonna see. Okay, so I just poured some in here. I poured about half, which I think the rest that I have in here is going to be enough for the 1 quart and the solo cup, and that's amazing. So I'm just going to pour it back in here, and I'm going to proceed to make the holes with my tool, if I can find it. Okay, here. So this is my poker tool. I mean, you can use like an ice pick, or if you really want to be super fancy with it, you can use a power tool, like a drill, and the little hole maker. I don't know what it's called. So at this one, since I feel like this is gonna be too high, but I feel like it's not, because this one can be really thirsty. I kind of want to put the holes lower. Let me double check the amount of leca that I can put in here. So yeah, I think I can put them right here. So what's also great about these pots is that right here it has the volume. So you can see this is at the half quart, the 16 ounce. And usually what I like to do when I use leca, especially with inorganic medium, oh, you couldn't even see what I was saying. It's right here at the half quart. And usually with inorganic medium, I like to have the leca quite a bit above here, because I don't like the organic medium to be in direct contact with the water, because that's just gonna cause it to degrade, and it's just gonna introduce issues with the amount of water used. But I'm planning on keeping the water under here. These are just gonna be more for pouring it out, but I kind of want to keep the level down here. But I do want to have the option of during summer to keep it higher. Okay, the sun is starting to set, so I'm trying to hurry up and get these potted up, but this is the fact.